We're here to talk about Final Fantasy.
Yeah, some small indie franchise. You guys probably never heard of it before.
As I said on my tweet, I said you can come by and yell your questions about Final Fantasy. Not that I need to be asked a question to talk about Final Fantasy. I think it's true. Nobody needs to ask me a question in order for me to just start talking about it forever.
Same.
It's my favorite.
But I will start by asking you a question.
Oh, let's hear a question.
What'd you think about that 16 trailer, though?
So somebody just said in the chat that it looks bland or whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody said this. Who is this? Deus Foe said, "Tell me FF16 wasn't the most underwhelming mainline FF reveal we've ever seen since 7. Where's the flavor? Where's the spice, the flair, and the middling graphics?" First of all, the middling graphics I love because I can tell they're just getting it done. You know, I can tell that they made a lot of video game. They made a lot of video game there. So that's what I like about the graphics. Also, I don't know. I think it looks real good. I like hearing these dudes saying "my lord" and "my lady" and stuff, and these big stone halls. "You have pledged the allegiance of your sword to my father for generations," or whatever, like lines like that. That just makes me be like, you know, I love that stupid bland stuff. Not that it looks stupid and bland. I just think it looks like a darn. When was the last time we had an old fantasy Final Fantasy? Isn't Final Fantasy like, we haven't had a high fantasy Final Fantasy. It's a lot of instances of the word fantasy. We haven't had a lot of that in forever. The main 14, I guess, is a high fantasy Final Fantasy.
12 maybe.
12 maybe. 12's got too much Star Wars in it.
Yeah,
is what I was just saying on Twitter yesterday. I was saying it's got a little bit too much Star Wars.
Right.
So this one it looks like The Witcher. There's no way they didn't like reference The Witcher at some point.
Oh, they definitely did.
You've got a little bit of drag dog in there. That's what I call Dragon's Dogma. I'm sorry, I call it drag dog. they got a little bit of drag. There's a little bit of this drag dogishness with good reason, because you've got what's his name?
Naoki Yoshida.
No, not Naoki Yoshida. What's his name?
The director. Are you talking about the director?
The design director, dude. Oh man, you've basically.
I know. I feel like his last name is Takai.
Suzuki? Is it Ryota Suzuki?
Oh, are you talking about the battle?
Yeah,
you're talking about the battle director. Yeah, that's Ryota Suzuki.
Yeah, because he did some Devil May Cry. He did some Drag Dog. He did some. He just did a whole bunch of that stuff. I think you got a little bit of this Dragon's Dogma feel. You've got a lot of Final Fantasy 14. You've got Naoki Yoshida, who's like a Yasumi Matsuno fanboy, right? Like he's like a legit huge fanboy. He apparently joined Square Enix just so he could meet and someday work with Yasumi Matsuno, and then he never really got to, which is why they got him in there for some of those 14 expansions, right? For some of those little missions. So he's like a huge Matsuno fanboy. I'm guessing that Yoshida sees Final Fantasy 12 as some sort of Final Fantasy 12 is an unfinished. It feels unfinished, right? There's a little bit of weird, like it's a little bit of a tenuous, transient, kind of ethereal video game. You know, there's a little bit of something missing from Final Fantasy 12. I love Final Fantasy 12. I just played it for like 2 hours last night. Yeah, that's what happens when I open it in my Steam. You know, is I end up playing it for like 2 hours. So I like it. I feel like Yoshida wanted to be in charge of FF12ing his Final Fantasy 14. He wanted to be involved with FF12. They're FF12ing Final Fantasy 14 is what they're doing, basically. Is that the correct expression?
It makes sense. It makes sense.
They're FF12ing it.
Yeah.
The fact that they've got we've got Devil May Cry 5. When I played Devil May Cry 5 last year, I could not help thinking this would be a cool RPG. These three dudes.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
This is a cool RPG party. And now we've got literally that game designer as the battle director for Final Fantasy 16. Yeah. Wild. Is this is it a single protagonist game?
I hope not. And I feel like that's what everyone's thinking from what we've seen so far.
I think, okay, so the little boy is the teenager, is the man? Does this story take place over like 30 years? Over like 20 years?
No, so the little boy
or am I just
and the
wilding
man
out?
Seem to be like different characters
from
what I can tell.
I've had a migraine headache since yesterday. It's real hard. I'm not wearing my glasses because it hurts my head too much to focus. So I was not able to really. Right. I will be wearing my glasses maybe tomorrow when I watch the trailer. I'll scrutinize it with my glasses on.
So I did an analysis of it yesterday. We did like a live analysis, which, by the way, the actual edited VOD of that should be up after this. But
nice.
after watching that trailer 100,000 times now, the little boy.
I've only seen it 99,000 times.
Yeah.
So
the little boy. So apparently there's these things called dominants, and dominants are the people that host like the summons inside of their body. And so basically, you're playing the role of the character Shield, of this boy who hosts the summon inside of his body. And so apparently he hosts 2 different fire summons inside of his body, which are both Ifrit and Phoenix. And that's why you have Ifrit and Phoenix like fighting
as
in the logo.
Right. They got Yoshitaka Amano they're like, can you draw some fire?
And so the way they were discussing in the trailer, it was like there's only supposed to be 1 fire icon in existence, but there's like 2 for some reason.
There's 2, and that's too much fire.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will be scrutinizing it. So I actually here's my problem. This is a problem I've had my entire adult life, is I don't like spoilers. Okay? If a trailer comes on for something I'm interested in, I don't want to watch it. Does that make sense? Right. So I didn't know that was the Final Fantasy 16 trailer yesterday. So I ended up watching it, right? So I ended up watching a trailer for something I'm duty bound to be interested in. First of all, let me ask you, how wild is it that they just dropped that right at the beginning? They just flopped it out right at the beginning of the stream, right?
That was the worst idea, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a worst, but isn't it also pretty hardcore?
Yeah.
Like it's very, very confident of them, isn't it?
Yeah, I respect it a lot, but it's some guts. I was like, how am I supposed to pay attention to anything else after I see
this game that is not confirmed to even exist? Nobody knows it exists until like seconds. Well, I mean, okay, I was about halfway. We did a live stream watch of the conference yesterday, me and my buddy Brandon Sheffield. And we did this live watch, and the whole time I just kept so about halfway through that trailer, I was like, this is Final Fantasy 16, dude, is what I was thinking. And there were some people saying, oh, it looks like Final Fantasy 14 DLC. And I'm like, no, this is Final Fantasy 16. This is it. And then through the whole PlayStation thing, I just kept being like, I want to see more of that Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, now people are like kind of bashing the graphics a little bit. They're like, the graphics look kind of bad or whatever. It's like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd. The only thing that matters to me, because this was a big problem with me in Remake, it has to be visually consistent, right? So I can't like run up on, I can't run up on something and then the texture loads in like 3 minutes later. That's the biggest issue for me. So I don't care if the graphics are like okay. All I care about is consistency, because FF7 Remake also had some let's say PlayStation 3 characters in it. Yeah. You know? Like a lot of them looked like I don't know. I don't want to make fun of it. Look, clearly they had to fill that game. They had to populate that game, right? Yeah. So you ended up with a lot of Cloud is such a well done 3D model, right? Like he's like a Mercedes Benz. No. He's like a Lamborghini of 3D models, whereas Barrett is like a Mercedes Benz. You know, all the main characters are like so well rendered, so artistically, thoughtfully, technically put together. And then, you end up with just the consistency was just all over the place. So I feel like this 16, it looks like they've got it nailed down. Now, what I really was screaming about is just, I was screaming silently, like privately after the stream. I was just like, it just feels really confident. It just feels like they're like throwing this thing out at the beginning of the stream. The utter people are saying it looks bland. I think it looks refined. You know?
Yeah,
it looks
I think so too.
It looks so tasteful. It looks like we know that Yoshida loves Matsuno, right? And it actually has this hard, dark, old, thick, gristly, bubbling Matsuno-ness in there somewhere. Like it has this ogre battle-ish, tactics ogre-ish, vagrant story-ishness to it.
It does. It really does. It feels like Matsuno himself almost could have made this game.
Yeah. So it's but it doesn't feel like fan fiction. It doesn't feel like it's an Ivalice game. It feels like it's really, really. It's like what if Matsuno made something new,
right?
With the the mindset of the new generation. I don't know, man. It looks thick,
yeah.
And like syrupy deliciousness, and it doesn't look like Dark Souls. It doesn't look like it doesn't go that far, It actually kind of does seem to have its own thing. So hearing people say it looks bland, it's like, man. Oh yeah. So someone says it looks like Final Fantasy doing a Game of Thrones story. That's Beautiful Jones says that. It does look a little. I mean, clearly. Okay, here's something I know.
Right.
I know a lot of people in Japan who work on RPGs. May or may not know a couple of people who worked on Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
Every person I know developing a Japanese RPG right now loves Game of Thrones.
That makes sense.
They love it.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't hear this from me. Off the record, that's my favorite joke for during a live stream. Yuji Horii of Dragon Quest loves Game of Thrones.
Quick second. Ruler of Yore, thank you for the bits. Appreciate it. He says,
that's some wild bits, wild glittery bits.
Seems like we're getting FF15, but instead of playing as the prince, we're playing as the shield. I completely agree. That's how it felt like, yeah. It felt like reverse FF15.
Isn't the shield more exciting, though? Isn't the shield more like nuanced of a personality, like a more interesting sort of person?
I'm the Night Sky Prince. I legally cannot agree with that. I legally I cannot agree with that. No, the prince.
You
prince is better.
The prince is more interesting.
Yeah, the prince is more interesting, man. I'm sorry, I can't.
The prince is somebody. The prince is cool, but I like the idea of you're just like a Metal Gear Solid 2. You've got Raiden as the main character, right?
Right.
You're seeing Snake through Raiden's eyes, basically in that game. It's like that. Yeah. Give me a different viewpoint, just a different one.
Yeah, but I see what you're saying though, because as the shield, you're more like in the line of fire. You're in the meat. You're in the fire of the fires of battle, right? So it does feel more. What's the word? Intense. It feels like more like the stakes are on you. Versus, I guess, as the prince, you're playing like a more passive role too. Now, the only thing that I'm hoping doesn't happen is that they have like some sort of like escort mission-y type stuff in there with this kid, or that we're just like relying on this kid the whole time. And basically, this kid is, I feel like they can really easily slip back into like Final Fantasy 13, like Hope.
Yeah. Oh man, Hope.
Yeah.
Hope is weird because Hope is both a child and a dirtbag. It's weird. That's a clever combination, I would say. Basically, I think everyone keeps saying it looks like 15. It looks like 15. It's like, I don't know. 15 is a Final Fantasy game. It feels like Final Fantasy.
Even 15 is like a callback though to like traditional FF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if they're going to get anything from Game of Thrones, here's what I want. Did you watch Game of Thrones? You've seen Game of Thrones, right?
No, the first episode of Game of Thrones I watched was the last episode because I went to a watch party and I was like,
oh, that's terrible.
And I was like, well, I ain't watching this.
You know what? I like how Game of Thrones ended. I like how it ended. I don't exactly like how it got there. Right. I like the bullet points. I would recommend Game of Thrones if you like Final Fantasy. I would recommend it. Check it out.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty good. So there's like a part of Game of Thrones where suddenly they unlock fast travel in the show, Well, okay, Game of Thrones is all about people taking really long trips from place to place. Okay, which is kind of what Final Fantasy 15 is. It's about people taking a long trip, except you have this car and you actually only go like 3 miles, right? So in Game of Thrones, there's like whole seasons. The whole first 6 seasons are just like people going on slow trips from to and from different places. I hope that there is great longevity in the idea of like the road trip story, right? That's why we have millions of road trip movies, hundreds of road trip movies. I hope there's a real good slow motion road trip.
That's what I miss about older Final Fantasy games, was that road trip feeling.
Yeah.
And I feel like we don't get it anymore. Even with 15, it didn't quite feel the same way as it did like with older, even like Final Fantasy 10. I feel like really captured that road trip feeling very well.
Remember when 6 did the split? When you split into the 3 parties in 6?
Yeah, of course.
That was maybe the high point of the whole, in terms of my memory. I was 15 years old playing this game when it had just come out. And the split, that was the biggest mind blow I'd ever had in a video game. And to this day, it remains the high point of the Final Fantasy series for me was being 15 years old. First of all, can't ever have that again. And and getting to that split, right? And just being like, now I'm in 3 different parties. Never seen anything like that. Didn't have it spoiled, because magazines at the time weren't really even talking about the game. So it was just something that I had like honestly developed a liking for. I want something that gives me some of that Final Fantasy 6 feeling again.
Oh yeah.
Which I feel like a little bit of that. I feel a little bit of that in this 6 trailer or 16 trailer. I feel like they want me to think of Final Fantasy 6 because it's got that, you might say blandness. Some people say blandness. I say simplicity. The cleanliness of it. It's focused. That's what it feels like, because we got this kid and this guy.
Yeah, it does have a more focused feeling, right? But the only thing is, I feel like, are they going to sacrifice having party members for having that focused feeling? Are we going to have just this one guy? And then there's also the question, since we were talking about linear versus open world, I really want to know, or not, well, that's what I was going to talk about. I meant to say the road trip feeling. But are they going to make this an open world game? I feel like when I look at it, that I just get this feeling in my gut that they're going to do the open world thing again.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy 15 style open world.
But I feel like they'll do a much better job of it with 14's team. I feel like we'll have a much better understanding of trying to implement something like that than, say, like Final Fantasy 15's team, which had no previous experience in making something like that.
15 is such a weird game to think about. It's so, like, I mean, I played it for well over 100 hours. I demolished all the quests and the DLCs. I got all my fancy side quest weapons, right? I beat the heck out of that game. I feel like I didn't, and I mean, this isn't because I'm stupid or anything. It's just because I had other stuff to do at the time in my life. I feel like I didn't really understand the battle system like at all until like 30 hours into the game.
So
like I feel like I just did not get it.
I got like this gigantic Final Fantasy 15 thing like sitting right here.
Oh, and
I of course I'm the Night Sky Prince, so I love Noctis and everything. But yeah, 100%, I still don't really quite understand. Like the full ins and outs of that battle system is still sort of beyond me.
I eventually quote unquote got it, right? Like quote unquote got it, but it was I was like, there's no way you couldn't just pare this down to, I hate to say it, one dude. There's no way you could just pare it down to one dude.
Yeah.
The Witcher 3, hate to keep bringing up The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 does such, it's just this beautiful blossoming flower of systems in the battle that is all just one guy.
Right.
Pretty good. It does a whole lot with just one guy. And I don't know. I feel like if they can do that with one guy, there is no way. Okay, so here's another thing I know about everybody developing RPGs over in Japan. This is off the record. They love The Witcher 3.
Really?
Their minds are completely blown by it. Every RPG developer I know loves The Witcher 3 in Japan. All of them.
Right.
I can't say which projects these friends of mine are working on, though they say that The Witcher 3 comes up every day in conversations and meetings. It's like, oh, The Witcher 3 did this, The Witcher 3 did this. So I'm giving you, again, I don't know anybody working on 16 that I know of, actually. I'll have to check back with my friends. I don't know anybody. I don't know right now if I know anybody who's working on 16.
Right.
So, however, I can say they definitely like The Witcher 3. There's definitely enough people embedded in there who are referencing The Witcher 3 and checking something, balancing an idea against The Witcher 3. And I know there's people who don't like it. There's people who do like it. I know that The Witcher 3 is made by people who also love games like Final Fantasy. So there's a lot of like cross-pollination going on. So I feel like the way The Witcher 3 made Red Dead Redemption better, and the way Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to make Cyberpunk better, and the way all those games kind of bled into Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and I feel like it's all just real nice to have all that competition and those juicy alternate ideas around there. So I feel like if 16 is made truly smartly, and I know that Yoshida's a top class dude, I know everybody involved is coming from Final Fantasy 14 pedigree. I feel like the time is right to make a legit good original Final Fantasy.
Right. And it feels like it's been so long too since we've had that. And just like a new Final Fantasy world in general, because if you think about Remake and you think about Fabula Nova Crystallis, right? We haven't seen, like, basically, even if you include Ivalice in that too, it's actually even been longer than that. And in fact, if you include Ivalice, we haven't actually seen like an original Final Fantasy world since like
I don't know.
Yeah, 10. At least in the single player series.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Fabula Nova Crystallis sort of counts as an original world. Your Pulse world or whatever.
Yeah.
I you know what? I never beat Lightning Returns, but I love it. Have you like
I finished it.
I just got it on Steam somewhat recently, and I'm thinking of ripping through it.
So Lightning Returns has one of the best combat systems in the entire Final Fantasy series. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's legit.
But I would still say that game is not good. Even though
good.
Yeah, even though it has one of the best combat systems. One of the reasons
it doesn't have to be good for me to love it, though, is the thing.
So
what do you think of of Final Fantasy 13? Just the original vanilla 13, not the character vanilla 13. But
okay, so Final Fantasy 13. Oh man, I think that's when it became apparent to like everybody that Square was having some problems with HD development just in general.
Yeah. Crystal Tools, whatever they were calling it.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of 13. At the same time, it makes me feel weird to say I hate it because I have some very nostalgic memories of 13.
I don't like it, but I love it.
Yeah, it's very weird. So I was like,
it's like what my mom said to me once when I was a child. She's like, I don't like you. But I love you is what she said.
My God.
That's how I feel about Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I'm very nostalgic about it because I imported it from Japan when I was like 18 years old.
Oh, heck yeah!
I didn't know much Japanese. I still only know a little bit. And I played through it, and I just was like reading like translation guides at the time. So I'm very nostalgic of it for that reason. But if I was to judge it objectively, it's a terrible game.
It's so weird. Okay, so 13 feels like that was 2009. Okay, that was 11 years ago. Yeah. 11 years, Jerry. I keep saying Jerry to everybody lately. I'm sorry. It was 11 years ago, Jerry. That was at the time that game came out. Their whole marketing line was, "We're looking back. We're going to recapture the magic, guys. We're going to do it." And they give you characters who are superficially similar to characters from previous Final Fantasies. Lightning is like, what if Cloud were a girl? And the answer is she would be hot, right?
Right.
Right. So it's like everybody's like a reference to somebody, right?
Yeah, even like that opening section is like a gigantic reference to like Final Fantasy VII.
It's weird. It's like they were looking back as shallowly as to like Final Fantasy X, which was only that would have been 8 years ago at that point, right? So they're looking back at all the Final Fantasies, and then I feel like they've just been looking back ever since. You know, like they've just been 14 feels like they're kind of looking back at 11 and being like, how can we make this much better? Right. 15 is a Final Fantasy for fans and first timers, right? And it contains, man. Okay, okay. Again, I spent over 100 hours with 15. I love it. But how weird is it that I spent most of my time in that game listening to the "Blinded by Light" song from Final Fantasy 13 in my car as I drive around? Right?
Yeah.
Like that's like kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it a little weird that that's like my prevailing memory is Gladio reading a book while that song plays and my car drives down the road? It's a little weird.
Yeah, I would play and like then, the High Wind Takes to the Skies whenever I was flying, like my Regalia typo.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah.
And then you'd put on, then you get Final Fantasy VII, and they spent 5 years developing Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is just looking back at Final Fantasy VII. I feel like it's really nice and fresh for them to look forward with a Final Fantasy 16 with a new game. It's something new, but it has that. I mean, it has this old hard mysticism. It kind of, I don't know. Maybe I'm just projecting. My favorite Final Fantasy. I don't know if you knew this about me. Does anybody in the chat know what my favorite Final Fantasy?
Actually, don't know what your favorite Final Fantasy is. Please enlighten us.
Take a guess based on everything I've said before, everything I've said leading up till now. Which is my favorite?
Final Fantasy VI.
You think 6? Somebody says 8.
Either Tactics. 6 or 4. No, maybe 4. Say,
Tactics, I love Tactics. It does not count. Tactics does not count. Tactics is a beautiful game. Okay, so I saw enough people say 4. So okay, someone has the correct answer. Walt Dragon has the complete best answer, which is 4 is my favorite, and I know for a fact that 6 is the best. Right? That's just it.
Yeah.
And then for some reason 7 is the one I'm completely obsessed with. So
that's how it is, right?
So that's the progression here. 4, I think, is the one that accomplished everything.
4 is like the real first Final Fantasy, you know?
Yeah.
It's it established like FF DNA, like going forward.
I've played all of them in Japanese. I've played all of them in English. I'm an idiot. I love. Without 4, there would be no series. There would be no 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 without 4. I mean, 4 was also, they pulled out all the stops. They developed it for the Super Famicom, the new console at the time. They really, they rushed it. They busted it out. I can't wait to do a video about Final Fantasy 4 someday. I'm going to do like a 4-hour video review of it. It's going to be completely wild. It's going to be good, in which I reveal that Easy Type, the American one, is actually better. It's actually better balanced than Hard Type.
Really? Because I always see that as a critique.
Yeah. Well, so the weird thing is the numbers. If I'm going to extract the numbers from Final Fantasy 4, and I will show you all that the numbers in the Hard Type are all just like multiples of 10. Right? Because they just rounded everything up. Whereas the numbers in Easy Type are like you get some 6s and some 4s and some 8s because they're actually rigorously tuned for a pleasant experience. I mean, I'm going to prove it to the world. And then like 6 people will get really mad and then nobody else will care. That's what's going to happen. That's how it's going to go. And it's going to be like a vacation for me to make that video. I'm going to have so much fun.
Yeah. Oh man! And speaking of 4, how cool was it to see Dragoons like being presented the way they were in Final Fantasy 16?
Oh yeah,
God, dude, I love that shit. Anything, anytime a Dragoon's there,
I saw that. Yeah, man. Well, we'll see. And then 15 had what's her name?
Aranea.
It had the lady who's the Dragoon.
Yeah,
and it's like okay, it's like I guess she's there. She's like in there, but I mean, is that just a simple like reference? Are they just
Are they trying to placate me with a reference to Final Fantasy IV with this character?
Yeah.
Is that all it is?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man. It's like, oh, we got to have something in there for the Final Fantasy IV fans. So wait, are they called Vipers? Are they called Imperial Vipers?
Yeah, they're called Imperial Vipers. I think that's a reference. In fact, Akon is also from Final Fantasy XIV. I think the Garlinians call Primals Akon, something like that. So I'm behind in 14, but yeah.
In the Japanese games, they're all just called Shokanju. They're all just called like Shokan Beast. So in like every single Final Fantasy, it's the same thing. And then in English, they just kind of messed it up, and they made it Espers, and then they made it Summons, and then they made it Guardian Forces, and then they made it Eidolons or whatever.
Yeah,
and they
Shokan just means summon, right? I believe
it just basically means summon. Yeah, Aeons, Eidolons. There's like a million different names for them. And then icons now. And then what are they called in 15? Oh my god.
In 15, like I think each one has like its own they're called Astrals, that's right.
The Astrals.
They're collectively called Astrals, but then they all have their own alternative name on top of that.
We've got Sage, Water Dragon, and Ghost Little. Or I know these guys. They're hardcore Final Fantasy 15 murder heads.
Yeah,
they love. There's people out there who just freak out about 15.
Right.
And whatever. I should play it. I don't know why I want to play it again. I got to play The Witcher 3 again. Is what
Are you doing a review on it, or?
For The Witcher 3, sort of. There's too many Witcher 3 reviews out there.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do something a little different that involves The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
It involves playing all of The Witcher 3 at some point in the next 2 months. So I've got to do that.
I feel you. Let's go ahead and actually start to get some questions from chat. So chat, if you have any questions now, please go ahead and begin to ask them, and let's go ahead and begin the chat discussion part.
We've got Danny. I can't read without my glasses. Do you think 16's aesthetic is inspired by Witcher 3? I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's I mean, as I was saying earlier, everybody I know over there loves The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Everybody I know over there loves the goddamn Witcher 3. So I'm pretty sure The Witcher 3 was a touchstone when they were developing the particular look of that game.
Yeah. And by the way, you guys can also ask Final Fantasy VII Remake questions. Originally, this was going to be a story discussion about Final Fantasy VII Remake, which we can actually get into in a minute here.
But nobody knew there was going to be Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, but no one knew that like there would be like FF16, and so.
Oh, good question. Do you think we're going to see a re-release of Remake Part 1 on PS5? You know what? Okay, so full disclosure, I used to work in the marketing department at Sony Computer Entertainment Japan during the PlayStation 2 era and the launch of the PlayStation 3. I consider myself somewhat clued in to the practices of the industry and the strategy of Sony in general. I have no idea what they're doing with the PS5. I don't understand it. I feel like it's not. I mean, I'm observing only casually because I got my work to do, making my retro game reviews. Can I just put a disc in to my PS4 and play it? Will it run better? Can I download my Spider-Man off of the internet and play it? Will it have a better frame rate? Will it load faster? Because I hear this remastered Spider-Man is coming out. Like, what's going on? I thought for like the last 5 months, in the back of my brain, I just thought PS5 is going to come out. I'm going to download my Final Fantasy VII Remake on it from the PlayStation Store, and it's just going to run in 60 FPS, is what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Nope. I just kind of accepted that in the back of my mind that that's what's going to happen. I think it is the sleaziest, trashiest thing possible if they're going to try to sell it to me again as make me spend $60 just to play, because I want to play it at 60 FPS on a PlayStation 5. I think the combat deserves I want to play through hard mode just once in 60 FPS, just once.
Right.
You know? Right?
And with textures.
Yeah, with all the textures.
Yeah.
And 60 frames per second. I don't even care if it's 4K. I mean, if it was 4K, that would be real good.
That would be really good.
I don't want some Ultimate Edition. So it's coming to PC as well, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, but we have no idea when, right?
It's like a year of exclusivity.
Yeah, it's like a year. What I think is going to happen is that 2021, what's going to happen is they're going to really push the PC and Xbox One versions of it. And then that's going to segue into 2022 where they're pushing part 2 of the remake, and they're going to be like, they're going to launch like a teaser trailer for part 2. And then they're going to be like, hey, play the remastered version on PS5 and PC and Xbox Series S.
I think that is just a trash can strategy. Yeah. I want them to just let me play. It's an Unreal Engine game, Jerry. It's
right.
I mean,
it scales, right? So it's not even like a it's kind of
That's what the Unreal Engine is for.
Yeah,
it's so that you can just port it. I mean, again, there's no magic button you click that just ports it automatically.
Right.
But it does make it quite easy.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to the way they were doing it back in the early 2000s, remastering a game involved you had to get a whole bunch of Poindexters and handcuff them to a desk. Like, I mean, it was hard.
Right.
And now it's like just a couple of Poindexters, you know, and they'll do it in decent time. And it's like, I just want to be able to play it on my PlayStation 5.
Got a good question. In
a slightly higher frame rate. That's all.
That's all I want to. Got a good question here from Fish Fried Cat. Since 16 combat looks like Devil May Cry, there's a possibility of no party members. Do you think that putting jobs to act as a style switch would make up for no party members like Lightning Returns?
Yeah, I think there should be some jobs. I think jobs would be good. Did you play DMC5?
Yeah, I played DMC5.
So there's that guy, V. That guy that I described him as, it looks like somebody spilled half of Adam Driver out on the supermarket floor.
That's exactly how he looks. God, that's perfect description. Go on though.
Yeah. So like that guy, I was playing that, and I literally said to my buddy Heather Alexandra from Kotaku. She was at Kotaku.com at that time. She's now at Double Fine. You should have her on a stream. She loves 14.
I'd love to.
Big Final Fantasy fan. So we were talking, and I was like, he feels like if Final Fantasy 15's battle system were like really good, I feel like they would have had a character like this in there. I literally connected the dots at that point. And it's amazing that I feel like Devil May Cry 5 was introducing a couple of RPG-ish ideas to Devil May Cry, but the modern RPG,
right?
I see a lot of people saying that they don't want the action combat. They think the combat looks too action heavy. I think they're going to add some weird stuff.
Yeah,
like job switching, right? And if you play The Witcher, you'll see you can lay traps, you can drink your potions, right? You can do all these various things that kind of make you more than just one person during a battle, right? So I feel like they're going to add something like jobs. I wouldn't be surprised to see there be a job that's like a trap master.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a trap master job.
Final Fantasy 14 is like really big about jobs and job switching and job switching on the fly. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be surprised. Liaison as for Final Fantasy 16, when do you think the time skip happens? I would say that it's probably going to happen early. I think that they're just doing like the young protagonist to set things up. And then I think you're going to play like 90% of the game as his older version.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, that's what I think they're going to do. Like a reverse of Final Fantasy 15, basically.
Because, spoilers for Final Fantasy 6 coming up, everybody. But, right? Like, if you've never played Final Fantasy 6, mute your, and you don't know the twist, just mute the stream for a couple seconds.
Yes, please.
Halfway through the game, the world ends, and then it skips to a year later, and it's a different genre of game. It's a different subgenre of game after the time skip. It's like a proto open world game.
Right.
The world of Ruin is like, it's a non-linear open world. You can do there's optional quests. It's all side quests, but all of them is real big. And all of them is real big. Each of them is real big. I feel like that as a structural skeleton, that Final Fantasy VI is just like unparalleled in the Final Fantasy world. And it's weird that they never went back to something like that. So if they had the guts to do a half and half for this one, that would be cool. But I think you're more right. I think it is going to be an early twist. I think they're going to give you like an 8-hour vertical slice where you get like an 8-hour segment. Your Midgar.
Yeah.
You get your Midgar.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? And there's a lot of clues in there that we're looking at a revenge story. Mm-hmm. So if we are looking at a revenge story, I think that the young protagonist is just being used as a setup for the revenge story.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go ham with all the others, the consequences basically of that revenge story going forward. And I think that's what they're planning on doing. So it's very interesting to me that this game seems to draw inspiration from older Final Fantasy. In fact, if you look at 16 as a whole, it's the most Final Fantasy to FF in a long time.
Yeah.
aside from combat and the possibility of just having one dude.
I wonder if they're going to have I think the one dude thing could be good. If they do one, like, I don't know, it could be. I mean, it takes some narrative chops to pull off a one dude story.
Yeah. There would be no waifu. Could you believe that?
Yeah, it'd be wild. It's a brave new world.
Yeah. That's it's a brave. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. It's. I mean, I think like the original Dragon Quest was a one dude game, and it did okay. It sold enough copies.
Right.
I think you could do a one dude. There's just not a lot of one dude RPGs.
Right.
And The Witcher 3 is a really good one. The Witcher 3 is almost a JRPG. Yeah. In case you didn't know that, anybody in the chat who thinks of The Witcher 3 as a Western RPG, it is. So it's got a little bit more J in it.
It does have some JRPG like flavor to it.
Yeah,
you know what? Like what you were saying about like how all Japanese developers love it, and I'm thinking about like how many Japanese games that Geralt has like guest appeared in.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Calibur.
I'm like, wait, this is starting to make some sense.
It's interesting. It's interesting. They love it. It's weird.
Yeah.
I know. Someone in the chat pointing out it's Polish. I know it's Polish.
We know.
Yeah. Like for example, if you're from Japan and you're a rock and roll band, your band isn't automatically J-rock. J-rock is a genre. J-rock is a very specific sound. Usually a Tokai Talbot aluminum guitar sound, kind of like a bump of chicken. Aluminum guitar. Everybody knows what I'm talking about here. Aluminum bodied guitar. That's J-rock. You can be a Japanese band like Guitar Wolf. Guitar Wolf isn't J-rock. Similar, they're just rock and roll. Similarly, a Polish studio can make a Japanese RPG. Just because you're not Japanese doesn't mean you can't make a Japanese RPG.
Oh, someone in the chat says, let Yuji Horii make a Final Fantasy.
Shoot. No, they can't do that because it would be the best one. I think there should absolutely be a Yoko Taro Final Fantasy.
Oh, 100%.
1,000,000%.
Oh, God, yes.
Let Platinum Games develop it. I don't know. Give us a Platinum Games Yoko Taro Final Fantasy 17.
Oh, my God, dude. For the longest time before they announced 16, I was saying, like, I really don't care who directs it. I really just want Platinum to work on the combat.
Yeah.
And I feel like,
something similar.
We're getting close.
I know 15 is not it's not exact, or not 15. Devil May Cry 5 is I don't know how Hideki Kamiya feels about Devil May Cry 5. I think they did Devil May Cry pretty good in Devil May Cry 5. So I feel like you're kind of skewing close to a Platinum game when you get Ryota Suzuki to be your dude. You're getting close.
Yeah.
You're getting that level of that masterfulness of the feeling of the action combat. Like, I feel confident that that's going to happen. Someone says, I just want an FF6 remake. Man, join the club, buddy. I want an FF4 remake, but I feel like 16 is splitting the difference between a 4-6 remake, right? Doesn't it kind of feel like that?
Yeah.
It feels like this is your 4-6 remake. This is all they have it in them to make. A Chrono Trigger remake. I have a theory about the Chrono Trigger remake.
Go on.
I think Final Fantasy VII remake is a Chrono Trigger remake.
Because you've got Marl from Chrono Trigger in there.
Oh shit! You're right. Right.
She's your landlady.
Oh
I feel
God.
like something's gonna happen.
Oh my God.
And you've already got your time travel, parallel universes, whatever it is, plot. Yeah, I feel like it's coming. That's gonna be the twist at the end of 7.
Yeah,
the North Crater's gonna bust open and Labos is gonna be in there.
Yeah, so
and Chrono's gonna pop out and be like, "It's too late, guys," and he's talking.
I have to ask you because, and this is a good segue point, because it just would not be a good stream if I did not ask you about FF7, especially since this was originally going to be an FF7 stream.
Love FF7.
Yeah, so I really had to ask you. I'll just start more generally. Where do you think this is going?
The FF7 remake series, or as I call it. So I believe the best possible title for FF7 remake part 2, best possible title is if they just called it. You ready for this? This is exclusive. If they just called it Final Fantasy 7-3, that's what I think they should call it.
Oh man, that's like the most clickbait title. But it would sell like hotcakes though.
Yeah, that would be so good. I think Nomura could pull it off. He could do it.
Yeah, he totally could.
Like he could totally do it. I was saying at the end of my my Final Fantasy 7 review, this like I trust Tetsuya Nomura to just give me personally a good time, because I'm up for it. I'm up for whatever weird nonsense he's going to slam in there.
Right.
I would not be surprised if it diverges like horrendously from the plot of the original. If Aerith is just like, okay, we need to go to this town where there's a rocket and we have to get there right now, and you just go straight to Sid or whatever, right? Like if it's just like Aerith. Okay, so we don't know where Aerith is or what or where she's where she is channeling or astral projecting in from. We don't know.
Right.
It's probably Aerith, right? It's probably Aerith.
Yeah, it has to. It's either her or Sephiroth, right?
Yeah. One of them is, or both. Or they're the disturbances.
Right.
Yeah, Aerith and Sephiroth both seem to know, but who's responsible? Both of them. Is Aerith channeling in from the life stream, time traveling? Like we don't know. Probably because Nomura doesn't know either, right? Yeah. Like maybe I'm pretty sure he has like a nebulous idea that they're gonna figure out at the end of the second one. But I feel like they're not gonna reveal anything about who's coming in, who's calling in from where until the end of the second one.
Yeah,
whatever that is.
Yeah,
and I feel like the end of the second, it's gonna end with maybe, okay, this is my guess. Okay, I'm calling this out. So 10 years from now, come back to this video, tell me I'm right, because that's how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
I think Tifa's going to die.
Really? That's like a popular fan theory right now, is that Tifa's going to die instead of Aerith.
The Tifa instead of Aerith.
Yeah.
Theory. Yeah.
And I can actually feel that too.
I'm subscribing.
People are going to be angry, right? But Nomura had said something. He said that he knew that killing the Aerith was the right decision, because people were looking for ways to revive her and they could never get over the fact that she died. Yeah. And people have already accepted that over the past 20 years, right? And so the only way to hurt people in the same fashion that they hurt people on the PS1 version would be to kill someone else. And who else would have that same sort of impact?
I'm pretty sure, like I consider fan theories a sort of spoiler, and I'm too invested in the Final Fantasy VII Remake to be aware of all the fan theories, but because I haven't really looked into them. How prominent, what are the odds, what are the Vegas numbers on Cloud dying? Who thinks that's going to happen?
Yeah, a lot of people think that's a popular theory that Cloud
is as well,
right? Because something about Cloud remembering Sephiroth allows Sephiroth to be able to persist within the live stream and not dissolve into it. And so basically he wants to keep Cloud basically like permanently scarred so that he can always claw his way back into reality.
Man, yeah, all of this stuff about who's aware of who and where the live stream is and 7 seconds from the end and all of that. It's just so paraphernalious in a way that I find deliciously hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know what that sentence means. Though it's like I remember playing Final Fantasy VII in 1997 as an 18-year-old college student. And man, I just remember being completely brazenly so there were people who were disappointed with the twists at the end of the remake. I personally love it for you. I love it because I'm all for Nomura just taking me for a ride.
I was disappointed with a number of things with Remake, but I think the ending sort of like topped everything else.
It kind of ramps up and it's just completely ridiculous at the end. Though I remember I wasn't disappointed by it, though I remember playing 7 in 97, nothing spoiled. Just, I assume that this is an experience that's very difficult to have now. I had none of the twists in 7 spoiled when I first played it. I was playing it as it came, got it day 1, started playing straight through it. I reached the end of disc 1 after like a week, right? I didn't know what the internet was at that point. Okay, I sort of knew. Though it's like I just remember being completely hooked by the story.
Oh yeah,
like 100% hooked by it in a way that no other game had ever like hooked me exactly that way, except Final Fantasy VI, which we called Final Fantasy 3. So like no other game had hooked me that way except Final Fantasy VI, which hooked me harder than Final Fantasy IV did. And I just remember being totally hooked and feeling every single plot beat, just palpable. Every plot beat was just like perfectly crystallized in my head as it flowed in. I'm just like, this is incredible how it's like clockwork, everything fitting together. I'd seen the Zack cutscenes by the time I got to the end, like the whole revisiting the Calm flashback over and over again. Like it felt I was in a film criticism class at the time. We were watching Hitchcock films. I felt like this is a very Hitchcockian device to keep coming back to this same flashback. And I was studying to be a film critic. I was studying critical theory and journalism and film study and all this stuff at that time. And I was like, writing my own theses out. And I'm being like, this is a wonderful story. And then I remember getting to the end. Here's the punchline. And just not really like you get to the North Crater and I'm just like, oh, like where is Sephiroth? What is he doing? Right. What is Genova? I just remember losing track of it at the end and then witnessing the CG ending, the much ballyhooed CG ending. Fit in the word ballyhoo there. The much ballyhooed CG ending that everybody on my dorm floor wanted to see 2 years later. Weirdly, 2 years later, everybody in the dorm was like, hey, can we see that Final Fantasy VII ending? Because 8 was coming out and everybody was hyped about 8. Right. For some reason, like people who never played a video game before were hyped about Final Fantasy VIII. Yeah. Really weird. The people who only played Madden, I don't know. So it's like everybody wanted to see the ending. Like, oh, this ending rules, dude. And it's like, I remember watching the ending. This is me being 100% honest.
Yeah.
I remember watching the ending back in October, the Halloween 1997, watching the ending of the game and just being like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I like aspiring film critic, journalism student, right? I just remember being like, I don't really understand what happened. And, something like I was receiving a transmission in my brain. I'm like, some divine transmission received in my head. I'm like, the people writing this didn't know what was happening either. they lost track of something, and they knew the ending had to be this wild CG bonanza because that was the zeitgeist. And they just made some sort of interpretive dance kind of like like performance. They just put together some sort of MFA presentation of their CG art, and they're like, oh, this is. But people are probably going to like this. Yeah, 6. Someone says the 6 ending was good. 6 ending was amazing. How satisfying and beautiful was that ending? It was beautiful.
Yeah,
I loved it.
So instead, sort of like the end of FF8, I'm pretty sure they did not know how to end FF8, and they were just like,
but they had that Fei Wong song, dude.
Yeah, and it slapped.
Yeah, it was that orchestral arrangement of it. It was legit.
Yeah,
and the CG was much better by that time.
Yeah. Oh, like a tremendous leap between that and 7.
Tremendous, I actually played all the way through 8 recently, the PlayStation version of 8 last year. I played through it, not the PS4, the remaster. I played through it on PlayStation, and let me tell you, on an LCD screen, that CG is no good, man. It was all about, but on a goddarn CRT in 1999, that CG was meticulous. It was beautiful. Right now, LCD, watching it on a computer monitor, it was real bad. It looked real bad. It's just blotchy and strange and smeary and weird.
It looks so great on like those old school CRTs. Like, it was amazing back then. Yeah. And nowadays, though, you put that on like an HD screen, and Square, for some reason, like, they just will not use AI upscalers.
There's that meme, the FF8 meme, you're the best looking guy here, and they show his face all pixelated. It didn't exactly look like that on a CRT. It looked a little bit, it didn't look great by any stretch, but it looked a lot, the imagination didn't have to work as hard back in 1999. The LCDs have really messed some stuff up. So yeah, he looked fine on CRT. Yeah, Silent Shout says, he looked just fine. So the CRT was how to do it.
So I'm going to tell you how Final Fantasy VII Remake ends. It's a big spoiler. I know
let's hear it.
I'm going to tell you.
I'm ready. Give me that fan theory.
This is how I think it's going to end. Actually, before I say that, I want to thank 2 people, Canis Divinus and Mark the Shark. Thank you for subscribing. But here's how I think Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to end. You guys hold on to your butts. Here's what's going to happen. The timeline with Cloud and Zack is going to merge, and they're both going to fight Sephiroth, and they're going to use a blade made out of the life stream in order to kill Sephiroth, and that's how it's going to end.
Who's going to die, though?
No one.
One of them's going to.
Oh, no one's going to die.
Everyone's going to live, and
everyone's going to live.
And they're going to eat a pizza together.
They're going to eat a pizza together. Zach will go back to his timeline, but at the end, he's going to be like, embrace your dreams. And he's going to give like Cloud like a thumbs up as the timeline gate is like closing.
Where's Aerith going to go?
She'll stay in the, well, I don't know. She could go back with Zach. She could stay in the main timeline with Cloud. That depends on where you stand on the love triangle debate.
Maybe Chocobo Sam shows up with a coin flip to determine where to go.
Yeah. Yeah,
do you think we're going to be seeing goddarn Chocobo Sam in Final Fantasy 7-3? Think he's going to be in there?
Oh yeah. I can't see them. I can't see them making these characters and then just tossing them after.
You're going to get playable Chocobo Sam.
Yeah, after Cloud dies, he'll be the protagonist, bro.
Is Chocobo Sam going to be related to Chocobo Billy? Chocobilly?
Oh, I feel like it's going to be like his cousin or something. Like he's
going to be like, I'm here at the ranch. Yeah. Oh, haven't seen y'all since Midgar. He's going to be like that, right? And then he's going to be like, and then there's going to be Chocobo breeding,
right?
For no reason. It's going to be sweet.
So
Roche is going to be there. So they say Roche is coming back, right? They keep saying he's a new character. You know what? I like Roche. I liked that guy. He was funny.
They just didn't give enough of him, man. I thought he was pretty cool. Yeah.
They gave just a taste. Love that fight, the duel you do with him. That was great. I completely blasted him. But I like how he heals you before the fight. So it reminds me of Rubicant from Final Fantasy IV, who heals you.
So who do you think is going to be the main boss or the final boss for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2?
Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2?
Yeah.
And was it going to be? It's not going to be those ghosts again.
I think it is.
You think it's going to be the ghosts?
I told to come back? So here's where I stand on this. I think we talked about this on the last stream too. It feels like they went through all that trouble to create them and built them up as a concept. So it seems weird for them to ditch them for like one game after that one game, and then just give like a massive exposition dump on like somewhere in the middle or end of part 2. Yeah. So I feel like that's weird. So I feel like they're gonna bring them back. And instead of us doing Sephiroth again, because assuming this thing's like a trilogy, we'll have to do Sephiroth like 3 times, and that is just.
I was quite frankly shocked at the Sephiroth battle at the end of 7 Remake 1, where I was just like, this is so dumb. I love it. It's like so stupid that they've got One-Winged Angel. They're just blasting One-Winged Angel out, and it's like, man, this song is real cool to hear at the very end of a really long game. It's just kind of weird for them to just blast it out at you. I loved it, and I owned Sephiroth. I think there's some people in this chat who watched my stream where I killed Sephiroth, and I think I had a pretty good time clowning on Sephiroth real hard. I feel like those ghosts, we didn't learn what they really are.
Yeah.
Right. The whispers, we didn't learn where they came from exactly. Are they representatives of what? The live stream? Right. Like,
so here's my interpretation of what the whispers are. So basically, there is sort of like weapons, right? The planet sort of makes these things that are like antibodies. It's sort of like the planet's like immune
antibodies.
System. Yeah, that's sort of how I see like weapon, right? So I see the arbiters in the same light. And so the arbiters are there. The planet creates like the perfect immuno response for whatever's happening. And in this case, someone is messing with fate or the timeline, right? And so the arbiters are their immuno response to someone messing with the planet's will. Or
that makes sense.
Itself, right? So that's where they come from. Is that they're like an immune response. And so I don't actually think that the arbiters are inherently good or evil. They're just like, like if you have allergies, because that's essentially what allergies are, like your body kind of like firing off immuno responses at nothing.
Yeah, that's why I get my headaches. It's just my body is sending stuff into my veins in my head because it thinks I need it.
Right. And so
my terrible headaches.
Right. And so that's basically how I see the arbiters.
Ghost Little asks, are Sephiroth and the Whispers on the same side? Good question. Are they?
He absorbed them at the end of a remake. And I was just like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
What's going on? I don't know.
It just
I just remember when I was streaming it and people were like, oh, it's just Kingdom Hearts. And I'm like, oh, stop it. People use Kingdom Hearts as like a derisive phrase, but then in the back of my mind I'm like, I'm gonna make a review of this game and I've got to mention Kingdom Hearts. It's like, how do I articulate that it kind of is a little bit like Kingdom Hearts, but not in the bad way? What is the bad way? I don't know. It's so confusing to think about. But I guess it's got us thinking. We were speaking at this length about it, so it clearly is working.
Right. Let's take.
I feel like they're gonna give us Sephiroth again, and he's gonna be like Whisper Sephiroth or whatever. Yeah, he's gonna Whisper Sephiroth.
Yeah,
the Genova boss was tight in Remake 1. That boss was cool.
That boss was cool. That boss was very cool.
So remember when Nomura like put his whole butt out there and said, the remake, the different installments of the remake might not even be the same genre. Remember when he said that?
Yeah.
He did say that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he ever retracted it or if anybody else ever stepped in and is like, we're not.
I know exactly what you're talking about because he talked about each one being like its own unique experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, it's going to be like, each one is going to be very different.
So what's the current fan theorizing on the one question I got asked repeatedly in the comments of my YouTube video, which I like sort of addressed in my video review, which, 3 some hours of a video review that it's okay if everybody didn't watch the whole thing.
I watched the whole thing.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Anybody else who watched the whole thing, thank you as well. If you didn't, no thank you for you. I'm sorry. So like one of the questions that came up a lot was, how are they going to handle level scaling?
Yeah.
If like, how are they going to handle material? It's like, oh no.
I don't even know if it'll transfer. I don't even know.
I think of that Nomura comment. And it's like, maybe they just don't. Maybe they just don't handle it.
Yeah.
And you only import Witcher 3 style. You can import your Witcher 2 decisions, the breakpoints in the Witcher 2. There's a couple of plot breakpoints in the Witcher 2. Won't spoil them for anyone.
Right.
Maybe it just imports that. Maybe it imports the love triangle status. maybe love triangle status determines who dies.
Shinigami says, if you know who Tim Rogers is and you're not watching the whole thing, what are you doing?
Exactly. Watch the whole thing. I divide the videos up into multiple chapters so you can watch them one a day.
I think it took me like 2 or 3 weeks to actually finish that whole video.
That's good. That's what I want people to do. I want people to watch parts of it. I want them to be more parts. More parts in the future. So that
I liked it because every time I ate dinner, I would just be like, oh, let me go back to Tim's video, and I like watch like the next section.
Just keep it going.
Yeah, and I just kept it going. Okay.
I have a good time with making those videos.
All right, so
the next one's going to be 3 hours about Pac-Man, so everybody be ready for that. I promise it's interesting. I promise.
All right, so I want to get like maybe like let's do 5 questions before we wrap this thing up.
5 questions.
We'll do.
Kill me, bro.
We'll do five questions. So please, everyone, start pouring in your questions. Actually, there was one I had saw like a while back when we had talked about Tifa potentially dying, and someone said that Tifa dying wouldn't have like the same impact or weight because Tifa is not she's not connected to the plot in that way. But I still
as cool as Aerith as well. she's just not as chill.
But
Tifa's too momish.
You say that, but Aerith is also like peak gentle mommy archetype. I'm an Aerith fanboy.
Cloud's got 2 moms. They're named Aerith and Tifa.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Sephiroth took 1 and then he went and got 2.
And then Barrett and Sid are like his 2 dads.
Yeah.
Cloud's got something going on. He's pretty good.
He needs it, man. All that trauma.
He needs to be somebody's child.
Yeah.
Because his real mom got crisped up. She got destroyed. That sucks.
Here goes one from Young King Kush. Love your name. How far will Remake Part 2 go?
How far will it go? Like, what point of the story will it get to?
Yeah.
I think it's going to get to City of the Ancients.
It has to, right? If they want to keep this thing coming out in like a timely manner, it has to.
And then Remake 3 is going to start with Cloud snowboarding. He's going to be going down a slope on a snowboard, like going wahoo! And then there's going to be flashbacks that fill in the story between Temple of the Ancients and the snowboarding. Wait, okay, so what are the going theories? That it's either going to end after Temple of the Ancients, or it's going to end after the North Crater?
I think most people believe it's going to end at Temple of the Ancients. I think that's like general consensus.
Because I think North Crater, Cloud falls into the live stream could be like a good cliffhanger. But also, it could just be a completely different story.
Yeah, I almost feel like that.
Completely different.
Yeah. I almost feel like they set us up for that.
The first place you go.
Yeah.
It could, like, Aerith could be like, we have to go to the Temple of the Ancients. It could be totally different.
Right, because that would throw off the timeline, right?
Yeah. Because she just already knows where the story's going.
Yeah. And what's the point of defeating the old timeline or defeating Fate if they just go back and repeat all the same story beats of that timeline?
Are we even going to do the Calm flashback?
I feel like
Are we even going to do that? We have to.
We have to, right? Because the characters now, they still don't know fully about Sephiroth.
The Calm
they know,
flashback
but they don't.
Is hands down the best part
right.
of Final Fantasy VII Original, because it's so essential, and it's also so well done. It's a game narrative design hallmark. You know, it's like it's like any narrative designer in video games has studied the Calm flashback as just like what it did.
Yeah.
Or the form. So it's like, yeah, the Calm flashback has to be in 7 Remake 2 or 7-3.
Maybe it's how the game starts. And then you're going to get a car. You're going to have a car. That's my theory.
Yeah. Oh, Fish Fry Cat actually asked an interesting question. If it's a completely different story, is there even a reason for there to be a part 3?
Yeah, that's the question. What if it just ends?
Yeah, it could just be a duology. Yeah.
Nomura and Kitase have said they'll work on this for the rest of their lives, right? Which is morbid and creepy, and I love it.
Yeah.
They're just like old men devoted to finishing a job. Also, can you it's I'm reaching an age myself where I can sympathize with a man who has decided that this one thing he did was better than the other stuff he did. Like Kitase being like, reaching this elder age and just being like, I guess 7 really was the best thing I ever worked on. Maybe it's time to go back to that. Like it takes a lot probably for an old person to go, I'm going to go back to that thing. This easy place for me to go back to that is also where I can do the best work. So I think they don't want to end it after part 2. I think there's going to be 3 parts. I'm sticking with the 3-part theory.
Right.
It would be wild if they decided to just like clash everything together at the end of part 2. But if part 2's got to have Gold Saucer, Rocket Town, Chocobo Ranch, Costa del Sol,
right,
the Nibelheim reactor, Calm flashback,
right, they don't have time to necessarily set up the final fight with Sephiroth properly because they have to do all that stuff first.
No, I mean, they made a big old open world game with Final Fantasy 15. Is it just going to be like that? Are they going to give us a Final Fantasy 15 overworld?
I find it hard to imagine that they do that because open worlds are so expensive to create.
But what if they've been working on it nonstop for like 5 years?
That'd be cool.
What if they've had a second team and that's the origin of Nomura's confidence in there being multiple, them being very different experiences? What if that's what if they've just had? I think they're gonna have to do. There's gonna have to be a baby open world at least.
Yeah.
If it's not a huge open world, that's the only way they can treat the because the scale of the first one, like that on the ground, that very grounded scale, it's hard to take them outside of Midgar and keep that scale exactly, right? So how are they going to do it? I think it's vehicles. There's going to be a car.
Yeah.
You're going to keep that truck. That's what it's going to be. You're going to be in that truck.
Actually, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool, right?
Yeah.
Let's take some more.
Love that truck.
What if this is actually a pretty cool question. 1M213 asks, what if Tifa this time corrects Cloud about his flashback being wrong? What consequences can it have on Cloud knowing everything he remembered was wrong?
Yeah.
I almost feel like they sort of have to.
That would cut a lot of that would cut down on the distance the plot has to travel just by maybe not a huge amount. They could still get away with retreading some of the same beats as the original, but they could cut down a little bit. They could economize it.
Yeah.
But having that flashback come back later corrected is one of the best parts of Final Fantasy VII. So they'd be sacrificing that.
Yeah, and I do not know how I'd feel about that either.
Yeah, it could be weird.
Yeah, but I also feel like that at this point they have to go off in like a new original direction that is just like so far out, because I feel like they've already kind of soured a few of the plot twists. Like Hojo flat out was like spoiled that Cloud is not in Soldier.
What if there's what if there? Yeah, he did.
But
what if Calm? So at the end of the Midgar and Final Fantasy VII 1, I'm going to keep calling it Final Fantasy VII 1. At the end of Midgar and Final Fantasy VII 1, everyone's like, here's a PHS. We're going to meet you at the town of Calm, north of here. We got to get out of the city. We got to lay low. Let's go lay low in Calm. First of all, I loved role playing a guy laying low after committing an act of terrorism in a big Blade Runner city. Getting out of Midgar was amazing the first time, man. So it's like, I'm laying low, I'm in Calm, and there's a flashback. And then when we get there, Barrett's like, you need to tell us what's up with that guy. Everyone's like, yeah, you need to tell us what's up. Mm-hmm. And they're all like, tell us what's up, right?
because in Final Fantasy 7-1, the big impactful emotional thing that happened to everyone was they saw all these people get murdered in this tower, in Midgard Towers. This mysterious force killed President Shinra, right? So that was the freakiest thing, right? That's not the freakiest thing anymore, right?
Yeah.
The freakiest thing is now, what are these goddamn ghosts we fought?
Yeah.
So what if, let's go lay low and calm, we got to get out of here. What if everyone turns to Aerith and asks her to explain?
Oh, you're right. You're right, because logically, that's the only thing that can make sense, right? Yeah. Because it's no longer about that, like what was going on with the creepy blood trail and who killed President Shinra and anything.
That's not the creepiest thing anymore at all.
It's like, why didn't we see prophecies of the future?
Yeah, they witnessed an insane, strange cosmic event. Yeah. They witnessed something completely bizarre.
Yeah.
They're going to have to talk about it.
You can't like be like sitting with people in a hotel after seeing a prophecy of the future and just be like, so let's just ignore that. Like, let's not talk about like why we were seeing visions of the future.
So I feel like they're going to ask Aerith and she's going to be like, this is my classic Kingdom Hearts writing impression. She's going to be like, I'm not sure. I feel like I know. I feel like I can sort of sense what happened, but I'm just not sure. It comes to me in flashes. And then they're going to go, okay, but who is that Sephiroth guy, Cloud? And he's going to go, oh, I can tell you about that guy. Because they did fight Sephiroth. So, okay, Sephiroth still was an impactful presence at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, like, still all of those people did. So actually, okay, maybe even more so than at the end of the Final Fantasy VII-1. They're seeing this guy and they're fighting him on some piece of Bayonetta debris in the sky, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they did definitely have to fight this dude. And all of these people definitely have come away with an impression that this guy was big and wild, right? So they do definitely want to know about him as well.
Yeah.
So
and that's another thing too. They also have to ask like what that other dimension that they were fighting in was.
Yeah, there's going to be 2 dimensions, or there's going to be two. You need to tell us about this sections. We need to talk about a lot of stuff, is what they're going to say in the hotel room. And they're going to go, Aerith, you go first. She's going to go, I don't know. Yeah. And then Cloud's going to be like, I can tell you about this guy. Me and him used to be elite soldiers. Oh. And then they're gonna tell us the flashback.
Well, then in that case, you can have Cloud's flashback and you can have Aerith's flashback.
They gave us so many flashes of Cloud's flashback in Remake 1, though. They gave us so many little flashes of it. Yeah. And I feel like that like blunted it a little bit, because I knew a lot of people who I don't know how many people you knew who played 7 Remake after never playing 7, right? There were
a lot of people.
So I knew several people who were experiencing the game for the first time, and I feel like 7-1, I'm just gonna keep calling it 7-1. It's like what I accidentally call it now. Final Fantasy 7-1, like, just when the calm flashback shows up, it is just virtuoso. It is just premium good stuff that they bring it in at that time after the experience you've just been through. Like, Sephiroth's name isn't mentioned until like right up at the end. Well, I mean, you can kind of perceive him in some background lore. The first time you play Final Fantasy VII-1, it takes about 8 hours to get out of Midgar if you're playing it in 1997 and you're taking your time and you're wearing your pajamas and eating your macaroni and cheese the way I was. Like, it takes a while to get through. And when you finally get to that calm flashback, you're like, okay, let's find out what that guy was. And it really hits you. Whereas they keep teasing it in the remake. They keep teasing it.
Yeah.
Whereas the first one only had the scene of Cloud and Tifa at the well having their childhood, I'm going to be a soldier, I'm going to leave town conversation, right? And that was the only tease we got of Cloud and Tifa's past in Midgar in the first one. Right? And you just keep seeing the Cloud walking through the alley with Sephiroth, and he's seeing visions of his town burning. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like they're kind of squeezing it a little too hard.
And I realized something too, connecting to what you said earlier about Aerith kind of doing the whole Kingdom Hearts playing dumb type motif. I realized that's probably they're probably going to leave it at that, and then then it's when you go to Cosmo Canyon that you'll get the rest of that exposition.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's I want to pretend that I thought of that a couple minutes ago, but I didn't. That's probably the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, because like Aerith will give you like a little bit of setup, but then when you get to like Bugenhagen, he's gonna be like, oh well, yeah.
He's gonna be like, oh, you're one of those ancients, right? I have a machine or whatever, right? And you're gonna get it out, but it's not all of it. You're gonna get just pieces of it, because the whole, I don't know if you've all noticed. There's a lot of amnesia plots in video games because they're very easy to write. It's very easy to just be like, this guy doesn't remember this thing. Oh, neat. Let's find out. Who am I? You know?
Yeah.
First of all, who am I is a question that any adult should be asking themselves almost every day. That's all I'll say about politics today. Who am I? You should be asking yourself this question a lot if you're an adult. Every day, at least once a day, ask yourself, who am I? Right? So it's a profound question. It's the easiest question to ask in a story. And the easiest way to make a character ask that is, to make them Jason Bourne waking up dead in the water, being pulled onto a boat. I don't remember who I am. Right? So it's like, that's like, clearly they're gonna play that hard. Aerith is gonna be like, I think I know something about who I am, but I'm not sure. And she's your amnesiac protagonist. She has a similar amnesia to Cloud, which is like a selective memory replacement.
Especially assuming that she like time travel, right? So she doesn't fully remember everything that happened right before.
Yeah, doesn't fully remember everything. Yeah. There are like flashes in Remake 1 where it's like, oh, it looks like she remembers something. Maybe she doesn't. Like when she gives the flower to Cloud, she's like, lovers used to give this to each other when they were reunited. Right? It's like a reunion.
Or when she recognizes he's a mercenary too. And he's like, what? How did you know that?
Yeah, she knows that. Yeah. And also she knows that Marlene is in the bar. Remember, she's like, oh, you want me to go to Seventh Heaven and get Marlene? She like knows that.
Yeah.
Kind of neat little touches. Like she knows a couple of things. So they're going to be like, she's got this kind of marbled memory. There's just like a couple of things. So Ahiro points out, she says every time the whispers touched her, she forgot something. So yeah, they're going to play that pretty hard. They're going to play this whole, she knew everything.
Yeah.
When she met Cloud, and then she's been forgetting things.
Right.
And by the time you get to Calm, her memory is worn down to like a pencil nub. She doesn't remember. She remembers like tiny, tiny flashes.
Yeah.
And she needs Bugenhagen's help.
If she does die again, it's going to be because she forgot the stuff from the last timeline. And then, it'll be too late.
Oh, and she calls Red 13 a child. Remember that?
Yeah. How could she possibly know that?
Yeah. So there's
interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay, we got room for two. We got room for two more questions, you guys. Two more cues.
Please. Oh no, I forgot I get stabbed. Yeah, she's like, oh, am I gonna get stabbed? Maybe.
Oh man, she's like
two more
like
big
looking
cues.
around like this moment seems oddly familiar.
Oh yeah, we talked about the Final Fantasy 16 trailer.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, that was like most of the discussion actually.
Yeah, we spent a long time on that. Action button Nier Automata review. No, there's going to be an action button review of original Nier.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to that one.
Will Aerith die or not? Yes. Or no. I mean, who knows?
Send your juicy questions, please. We got room for two more.
Will 10 be further connected to 7? I'd love to see it if they just start connecting all sorts of Final Fantasies to it. That would be so cool.
Action button review of Drakengard 2, please.
Oh my god, I love Drakengard 2, dude.
Do you really?
I love it. Yeah, I love it. It's so stupid.
Fish Fry Cat, can Tim say Sephiroth again?
Sephiroth. I don't know how I pronounce it different every time. Sephiroth is how it is in Japanese. Sephiroth. That's what I'm going to call him now forever. Sephiroth. That's his name.
Let me see. We'll take this one. When do you think Final Fantasy 16 will come out?
I'm thinking, okay, so I don't know about you, but you know what I saw in that trailer? I saw a game that has a lot of stuff done in it already.
Yeah.
It looked very much like they had made a lot of that game.
Yeah.
Right?
They showed off like stuff that looked like a game. And they don't normally do that for Final Fantasy. Not on the first trailer. Not on the first trailer. The first trailer is usually like some talking, and then we'll see like a logo. And that was all I was expecting. That's it.
Yeah, you said you did an analysis of it. What you should do is you should go back and revisit the trailers for like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and just see like break down like what percentage. This is what I would do.
This sounds like
in the middle of the ridiculous thing I were doing right now. That I'm doing right now. I would like break down what percentage of like the 12 trailer was gameplay, what percentage was cutscene, and then try to figure out, and then like try to triangulate the release date. Be like 12's first trailer arrived on this day, and it was this many seconds long and featured this many seconds of gameplay, this many seconds of cutscene, and then it came out exactly this many days later. And then try to figure that out with 15. 15 would be the most ridiculous one because it's versus 13, right?
Yeah, that's a little hard to calculate.
I think it could be fun to figure out. Yeah, so everyone's saying, so someone says he read an excerpt of an interview from Jason Schreier that said it's been in the works for a while. Here's something I'm going to guarantee you about every Japanese video game is they work on them for a long time before they announce anything. And then sometimes they flat out lie about when development began. If they say Final Fantasy 16 started development like a year ago, no. They probably been working on it for like 3 or 4 years. They've probably been working on it for a long time. Like, and they brought in Ryota Suzuki to do the battle direction just this year. They brought him in like immediately after. So they announced it, I believe, in June. He probably left Capcom like right around the time Devil May Cry 5 went gold. Probably.
Right.
He left and he probably joined Square Enix around then. And then they announced it formally later. Around E3 time, they announced it.
Yeah.
And E3 didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they were going to announce 16 at E3 and then they just waited until this PlayStation 5 event thing. So I feel like 16's been in the works for a long time. They've had the battle director come in to just kind of, I mean, there's a whole lot that a battle director can do in 6 months of design. And I mean, I don't even want to think of what Suzuki's day-to-day job is like. It's probably very rigorous. Good game design is a lot of heavy lifting of small numbers is what I like to call it. So he's probably tuning timing windows and overall systems and just speaking to animators every day. He's probably got a lot of work that he's been doing for 8 months, 9 months now, probably since maybe like last December. So I think a good battle system in a Devil May Cry game, so I'm basing this on Devil May Cry, would take maybe you'd want like probably 18 months of like, and then this game is going to be so much bigger, right? Like it's going to be bigger than a Devil May Cry. It's got to be. So I'm thinking holiday 2022.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking too.
What you're thinking too?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Holiday 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. So oh, he's man.
But also I think they just don't want to launch it too early. They want the PS5 install base to start growing first before they launch.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
They don't want to launch it and like nobody has a PlayStation 5. 2 years 2 years is perfect timing to launch it. Actually, I think we were like we were closer to 3 actually when it was 3 years then when 15 launched on PlayStation.
I feel like we're gonna see like a Dragon Quest 12 announcement before a Final Fantasy 7 Remake 2 trailer, and we're gonna see Final Fantasy 16 before Final Fantasy 7 Remake 2.
I can't wait for Dragon Quest 12.
Dragon Quest 12 is going to get announced, and it's going to be on PS4 and PS5 is my prediction.
Really? What do you think they'll do with the Switch? Do you think they'll have a Switch version?
They'll probably have a Switch version too. I mean, I don't know anything about Dragon Quest 12.
But isn't it weird that Dragon Quest is like 16 and 12? It kind of feels like they're catching up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, whereas back in the 90s, it was 7 and 7. They were neck and neck.
Right.
Like, and then Dragon Quest 7 got all delayed, and now they've just been like lagging ever since.
That's because of how they develop Final Fantasies. They'll have like 2 or 3 teams working on, like, you'll work on 13, you'll work on 14, you'll work on 15.
They'll never catch up. Dragon Quest will never catch up to Final Fantasy. So back in 2000, they announced Final Fantasy 9, 10, and 11 all on the same day. Yeah, right?
I remember that. Well, I don't remember it, but I remember because I was only like 10 years old at the time. But I know of it being announced at that time.
Yeah,
the Square Millennium event or whatever it was called.
I'm not gonna lie, I was 20 years old at that time. Yeah, and I was skeptical. I immediately thought, is any one of these going to be as good as Final Fantasy VII? And to this day, here's my answer. None of them actually was. I love them all, but none of them was actually as good as Final Fantasy VII. And I think they should have. And they also made the movie at that time too, right?
Right.
So I feel like they should have just made one more Final Fantasy at that time instead of trying to make 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. They should have just made Final Fantasy 9 and it should have been like really cool. But I don't know. That's just, that's 20 years ago.
I completely agree.
So yesterday, I was legit expecting, and I still am.
Yeah.
A Final Fantasy 17 announcement.
You know what?
I was legit expecting it to come right at the end.
I understand exactly where you're coming from. Do you remember it was one E3 where they showed off a trailer for Final Fantasy 13, and then I forget the dude who was the keynote speaker for PlayStation at the time, but he was like, we also would like to show you the Final Fantasy that comes after 13. And the crowd was like, what? We've been waiting for like 13 for like
and now
3 years. Yeah, and like 14. Yeah, like, and like everyone, like you can still find that footage. And like everyone like in the crowd is like, what the hell is
14 is
on?
like pound for pound the most successful Final Fantasy ever though, right? Like it's like, there's so many players. Yeah, 14's wild. Yeah. So yeah, there was supposed to be Versus 13, which became 15. So they basically announced the release of 13 and 14 and 15 basically all at the same time. The kind of rules. I was legit expecting Final Fantasy 17, and I've peddled this theory on Twitter, so I'm going to say it here. I really think they should just Sonic Mania themselves, and they should make a widescreen. I call it a hyper retro. Yeah, Sonic Mania is a hyper retro game because it looks exactly retro. They should get the old sprite artists back. Amano to do all the character designs. Even get Sakaguchi to sign his name to it. Yeah, and just bring back a pixel art Final Fantasy. That should be 17. Nobuo Uematsu soundtrack. All Super Famicom chip tunes. I'm not even kidding. This would be such a huge moneymaker. And that's what they should have announced. Maybe they'll announce it for the Nintendo Switch. I believe if they did that, that's how they would get everyone they would get so many people to be like, Final Fantasy's back, dude.
17 is going to be an MMO. That's what I feel.
Probably.
I feel like it'll be a follow up to 14.
I think they should. I really, really just want to hold on to this pixel art Final Fantasy theory. I think that the next Final Fantasy, okay, so either 17 or 18 can be the pixel art one. I'm not picky, right? I'm not picky. Either that or Final Fantasy 7 Remake 2 is just called Final Fantasy 17. Yeah. Or Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I mean, that would be wild. I think that rather than an MMO, I think they're going to keep 14 going indefinitely, and they're going to make it Destiny-like. Like a real action-heavy sort of a game as a service Final Fantasy.
That makes sense.
That's now a distinguished genre separate from MMO. And they're just going to make all the people who say they don't like the action combat, they're going to get all sad about this Destiny like Final Fantasy 17 or 18. So I feel like that's 3 Final Fantasies they could announce. Yeah. And I predicted in a Twitter thread like a year ago that 16 was going to be a pixel art game, 17 was going to be a single protagonist, and then 18 was going to be a Destiny like. Looks like 16 might be a single protagonist action RPG. There's going to be a Destiny like, and there's going to be a pixel art one. I just firmly believe for some reason that they're going to do this. They're going to Sonic Mania themselves. They're going to do it.
You heard
they're
it here, folks.
That's what I just really wish they would. I really want it.
All right,
don't doubt it, everybody. Don't doubt it. Just believe in it.
I don't doubt it. Actually, I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be really cool.
I'd love it. I would love it.
It'd probably be the best Final Fantasy in like a decade, maybe 2 or 3 decades.
You know what? I mean, the best Final Fantasy in the last, maybe the best Final Fantasy is still Lost Odyssey.
Agree. So Hard agree.
Oh no! Someone is saying no. Don't. Someone is cursing my idea by saying Tokyo RPG Factory will do it. No, please no. Oh, and don't trust a game studio that has the word factory in its name, because that just makes it sound like they're churning it out. No.
There was a question. I think I lost it, but I think it's like the perfect end question here to go off on.
Let's do it.
Do you think FF16 will receive the same budget as FF7R? I hope it gets the same. I hope it gets just as much love.
It's so, yeah.
Will they get the same budget? I would like to actually rephrase that question to you and actually ask, do you think it'll be as successful or more successful than 7R? Budget's somewhat arbitrary, yeah. But
I think 7R is gonna get the budget, and I think it's also gonna get the love, and I think 16 is gonna be the weird stepchild. I think it's gonna get stepchilded just a tiny bit.
Really?
Just a tiny. Yeah, really? I feel like weirdos are gonna love it. I'm gonna love it. I feel like they're going for like that Final Fantasy 14 audience, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I feel like maybe that's not the money audience for a single player Final Fantasy. And I feel like, man, I feel like it's gonna, I mean, they're putting it out on the PlayStation 5. It's their PlayStation 5 baby. It's so weird that it has to compete with Final Fantasy 7. Every Final Fantasy game since Final Fantasy 7 has competed with Final Fantasy 7, right?
Yeah.
This is the first one that has to do so directly, right? It has to literally deal with Final Fantasy 7, not just the legacy of it, but they're making more of it.
Right.
It's like when Jay Leno left the Tonight Show, and then Conan O'Brien was the Tonight Show. And then Jay Leno was, do you remember this? And then Jay Leno's like, oh, I want to kind of have my show be a little bit longer. And then Conan O'Brien like quit because of it. Does everybody remember this? It's like that.
I actually do. Yeah, I remember it.
It's like that. It's like, I don't know, man. But I love how so it's like, I love that they just went straight to that ogre battle. Look, they went to that old, hard kind of witch's cauldron, witch brew Final Fantasy. You know, they went to some weird Macbeth looking stuff. they went into the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
And they're like, we got to visually differentiate our game from Final Fantasy 7 as much as possible. So they cut down on the technology.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the makers, they love that old stuff. They love that dank stuff, right? So it's like clearly they want it to look dark and old and crusty. So it's like they're perfectly fine stylistically differentiating their game from 7 Remake. Perfectly fine, right? But the question is, where's the money gonna fall, right? And I feel like there's all sorts of jerks like me who are, I mean, I don't want to say everybody's a jerk who's going to buy both of them, but I'm day zero on both of them, right? There's no way I'm going to blast my way through those games. They're not going to make it a choice. They're not going to be like, they're not going to release them on the same day and be like, go my children,
right.
Fight my beautiful monsters or whatever. They're not going to do that. Right. I mean, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
That would be like Nintendo releasing a new Mario and a new Zelda on the same day, which they did back in 2013.
Yeah.
They released The Link Between Worlds and Super Mario 3D World on the same day. That was an apocalypse, Jerry.
Oh, I didn't realize that was on the same day. That's crazy.
Would Square do that?
So
I'm old school when I call them Square.
Yeah.
Would they release 16 and 7 Remake 2 on the same day, Jerry? would they do it?
Which one would you play first?
This has got to be the new personality test, because this is a difficult decision.
You're right. It does say like a lot about your.
I mean, I feel like I'm gonna have. I feel like it's got to be 7 Remake 2, because I'm gonna have freaks blasting spoilers at me.
Yeah,
it was so cute of the haters to be blasting spoilers at my open Twitter DM inbox about Final Fantasy VII Remake, when it's like I'd already beaten it because they sent it to me like a month early. Like, I mean, I'd already beaten this game, you jerkweeds, and they're just trying to spoil it for me in my DM inbox.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have people doing that about 7 Remake 2 if I don't play it first. Whereas who's gonna you can't just use words like Cloud and Aerith to me about Final Fantasy 16. I don't know who those characters are.
Right, that's true.
I don't know.
By the time you actually get around to it, you'll be like, I don't even remember the spoilers anymore. So my take.
Which one would you play first?
Oh, Final Fantasy.
If they were released on the same day.
16.
16?
16.
Oh,
yeah. I can say that pretty I was so I felt so kind of unexcited for the whole timeliney multiversey stuff that it really took me out of it with 7R. Of course, I'm still going to play it. I'm a sucker for Final Fantasy, especially 7, which is like my favorite game.
You need to know where.
Yeah, as much as I disagree with the direction that they're going in for this game, like, if you're a Final Fantasy 7 fan, you can't not know. Like, it's impossible to ignore the fact that they're going to be doing something different. And so, yeah, I mean, like, I have a need to play it, but the whole time
I have a bodily need to know what happens.
Yeah. So, and like I said, for those of you who watched the last stream, if I'm wrong, we will have a stream where I do where I shove a DualShock 5 up my butt. And it's gonna be if the game comes out,
that's a big controller.
Oh, dude, I'm going all the way.
It's like Xbox size.
All the way.
It is Xbox.
Like I said, if part 2 comes out and I'm wrong, and part 2 is like amazing, and I'm like I completely am in love with the way that they went with it, and I feel so dumb for ever doubting them. The DualShock 5 is going up there, man. It's going up.
DualSense, it's called. We're having this being corrected in the chat.
Yeah,
it's DualSense.
DualSense. I'm sorry.
So okay, so 16 is PlayStation 5 console exclusive temporarily, like whatever that means. They flip flopped a million times in their like press release. Is 7 Remake 1 was PlayStation 4 exclusive temporarily. We still don't know when it's coming to PC or Xbox or whatever. Is 7 Remake 2 going to be PlayStation exclusive? That's a question. I'm asking you. What do you think? Would it behoove them to be brand loyal to their parents at Sony? So
I feel like PlayStation. I feel like they have to go non-exclusive for part 2.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the smart move, right? Because now you got this entirely new base of people hyped up to play more of FF7R.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what's the best marketing decision? To make the game available for them.
Uh-huh.
It would be asinine, in my opinion, to make it exclusive to PlayStation when you just introduced them to the world of Final Fantasy VII, and they're coming hot off the heels of that, and then to immediately go and cut them off. I can't see it. Yeah,
it would be disastrous.
Right.
However,
right,
it's not impossible.
Yeah, but it's sort of like. It's sort of like starting a show on Netflix and then being like, well, if you want season 2, you need to go back to Hulu.
Yeah, that sort of thing does happen, though.
Yeah, and it pisses everyone off, though, when it does.
Yeah, it would be the stupidest thing for them to do.
Yeah.
7 Remake 1 paid off pretty hard being PlayStation 4 exclusive, but they need to... Yeah, they need to give it to everybody all at once. They need to announce it. Or they need to announce the Xbox and the PC version soon.
Yeah. And
I think that would be nice.
I also think I think this because at answering our last question, I actually think that 16 is going to outsell 7R. Well, either part 1 or part 2. Part 2 is probably going to sell less than part 1 just because of.
So I mean, I'm not counting 16 out. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna love it.
I feel like it's maybe that first trailer was conservative and they were just playing it cool.
Yeah.
It definitely felt like they were playing it cool with that trailer. It was not show offy at all, which I respect. I feel like they could just pop out like a dynamite trailer.
Yeah.
Like next year, like E3 next year, if E3 ever happens again.
Yeah.
Which it shouldn't. E3 is terrible. I feel like they're going to just pop out they could pop out one dynamite trailer that introduces, for example, can we get some girls? Right.
Yeah.
Can we get some?
The 16
can we get
trailer
some girls?
Was so like male heavy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to see some girls in there because the girls are some of the best part of 7, for example. And if my theory is correct, and they did some soul searching, and they were like, what's good about 7? I feel like with 7 Remake, I like hammer this hard in my review. If you haven't watched my review, check it out, everybody.
Please.
I feel like they hammered, like I hammered this hard in my review that I really feel like they did a bunch of soul searching, and they were like, why was 7 so good? The soul searching they like half-heartedly did for 13 and 15. They like actually did it for 7, and they extracted all the molecules, and they're like, this is why it was popular. This is why it was good. And if they did that, maybe they imparted some of that to the people working on 16 and just gave them some pointers. You want easy characters, like relatable characters in elevator pitchable situations. I need to be able to tell you what the character's motivation is during the elevator trip up to my apartment, which is very small. I need to be able to tell you that. I need to be able to tell you who he is. Cloud's a mercenary who doesn't really remember where he's from. Tifa is his childhood best friend who now works for some terrorists. Barrett loves the planet. Aerith is a flower girl. Right, you just explain all of this stuff to people. And you can even get into their relationships very quickly. So I feel like if they can give us a trailer that hammers that, if the makers of 16 were in the room when the narrative designers of 7 Remake were hashing out this plan, I feel like they could craft a simple, I mean, we already have a relation. Well, I see a relationship in the 6 trailer. I see you see the blood spray on the kid's face. There's a mom, right? Or somebody sprays their blood on this child's face. Who knows?
Oh, that was so brutal. I can't even believe it. And then we didn't even get like a Genova blood trail in like 7R. But we can but we can splatter blood on a child. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be rated M. It's gonna be rated M. So we've got a young boy with a gift and his guardian. I mean, it's a trope.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, Eco was just one big escort mission, and that relationship endured through that whole game. This the Eco and Yorda. I feel like we can. We've already got a relationship visible in 16. 15 starts out, you immediately know who all those guys are. You immediately get their personalities. They're the Ninja Turtles. Right? Yeah. You've got the Donatello does machines. You've got the Noctis is Leonardo. Gladio is Raphael.
Yeah.
And Prompto is Michelangelo, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about. I clearly don't have to explain this. So it's like, but you get that within the first minute when they're fixing the flat tire, when they're pushing the car. You immediately know who all of them are. It's wonderful.
It's
wonderful. So if 16 can give me a little bit of that, and then follow through on it. One trailer. They're one trailer away from just blowing it up. And sure, it could do better than 7 Remake. 7 Remake.
The reason I feel like it will is because 15 sold pretty astronomical. Like, and 15 is I mean, 15 did like 5 million on like day one, right? And then I think 7R like 4 months later was like 5 million shipped and sold. And so a lot of people were kind of speculating, like, why did 15 sell so much quicker than 7R?
There's like such a weird man, I still get people asking me, they're like, I'm not going to play 7R until the whole thing is out.
Yeah.
Because it's not the full game. Like, what? It's like, you don't want to spoil it for those people, right?
Yeah.
But I just tell them it's a full game if you just play it. It's pretty full. I try to tell them, like, it's a pretty full game. Like, you could try it. You don't have to
But maybe that has something to do with it. The perception that it's not a complete game. I'm not paying $60 for one.
Actually, I think that's like the big thing. I think that that really is the big thing, is that everyone's sort of like, oh, it's not the full game. And so because it's not the full game, that's why they don't want to.
Do you think Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 is going to include Final Fantasy VII Remake 1?
I don't think Square's not that cool. They're not that generous to just be like, hey, no.
Yeah, I do believe
sure they'll have a collection, but yeah.
I think 7R will sell more when the sequel comes out. They're going to release. I really don't want them to just do a remaster of it. I think that's trashy because it's unreal. Just pop it out.
Yeah.
Just let me play it on my PlayStation 5, man.
Yeah.
But there'll be like a trilogy pack. The only game I can think of that ever included its predecessor was White Knight Chronicles 2. Does anybody in the chat play White Knight Chronicles 2?
Wait, didn't a re-release of a Bayonetta do it?
Did it?
Bayonetta 2, right?
Bayonetta 2 has Bayonetta 1 on it, does it? That's wild.
I thought, if I'm not mistaken, chat correct me. Yeah, it did.
That was for Switch though. So what I'm saying is White Knight Chronicles 2 by Level 5, when it was released on PlayStation 3, when it was released, day one included White Knight Chronicles 1 on the disc.
Oh, that's cool. That's so cool. Yeah.
I cannot think of any other game. Doing that.
Yeah.
RDR2 sort of has RDR1 inside of it. Not really. I mean, it has a little bit of it in there. I mean, literally, you can choose from the title screen to play White Knight Chronicles 1, and it's just on there. That was bold. That was bold in a real neat. I actually really liked White Knight Chronicles 1. I only played a little bit of 2, but I liked White Knight Chronicles 1.
You know what Level 5 needs to do? They need
make a game.
They need to make Dark Cloud 3. That's what they need to do.
Oh yeah. Dark Cloud 3 would kill me.
Yeah, and they outright refuse to make Dark Cloud 3, and it makes me so angry.
It's real weird. It's real weird. It's like I guess it's like Sony owns it or whatever. They probably own I liked Dark Cloud 2. It was called Dark Chronicle in Japan. I think Level 5 should, but they're making that Yokai Watch money.
Yeah.
I really liked some of their. I think Level 5 has never made a great game. They've made some really, really good games that were almost there. Did you play Rogue Galaxy?
No, I didn't play it. Yeah.
I must be a freak because I played almost all of their games. I played the Inazuma 11, the soccer Pokemon RPG with music by Yasunori Mitsuda for the original DS. Everybody check that one out if you've. I think you can get it on the 3DS eShop. Rogue Galaxy. I like Rogue Galaxy. Game's pretty cool. I worked on some aspect of the marketing of that one in Japan. That game's pretty legit. It has the persistent overworld, which they tried to do for Dragon Quest VIII. Rogue Galaxy is cool. I wouldn't mind a remaster of a sort of that. They put it on the PS4, PS2 Classics thing. I want more of that game though. Man. Yeah, they just need to make a new game. They need to make a new game.
They do.
All right, Kuni 2 doesn't count.
I think we're going to wrap things up here. Before we go, though, as you guys always know, we're going to find someone to raid because we are going to help our up and coming Twitch streamers here. I'm kind of becoming a hybrid myself, where I'm trying to do Twitch content and YouTube content at the same time.
I got people asking me to stream all the time, and then I keep just not doing it.
Yeah. Streaming is really fun. It's great. It's cool to interact with people in real time and do stuff like this where we can actually respond to people. And a lot of stuff too. I'm always man, I wish I said that on the stream or during the podcast or whatever. And then people come in here and then they remind me, hey, you say that thing, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Someone says TGS predictions. Final Fantasy 17 pixel art. That's my prediction.
You heard it here first, folks.
Final Fantasy Mania.
I think we'll get a small update on Final Fantasy 16 there. It's not going to be a big one. What's going to happen is that
Japanese trailer.
They're going to give you the same trailer, and it's going to be in Japanese. And what's going to happen is it's going to be extended by like 30 seconds to a minute. And it's going to
30 seconds to a minute?
Yeah.
I'm going to give them 12. I'm going to say 12 seconds.
12 seconds.
12 seconds.
Yeah. It's going to have something in there. But that little something that they put in there is going to be like really hype and cool. Yeah. And then we're going to be like, oh, okay, this is going to keep me going for like another couple months.
But it won't be the equipment or status menu.
Yeah, it won't be that. Yeah, no.
They won't show any of the menus because Final Fantasy VII Remake, they didn't show them until the game was out.
Yeah. They'll probably show like people are saying like a party member or something. Like they'll show like a quick flash of that party member. They won't give you any information on them. But they'll show you a quick flash. Yeah.
They're going to show you a girl.
Yeah, they're going to show you a girl so that you know that it's not Sausage Fest all over again, like 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to show you a girl. And then
girls, real world girls loved 15 though. So
they did
because it had hot guys in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was. I
mean, we're all in agreement that all pretty much all those dudes in 15 were pretty hot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not an authority, but I'm, come on. Like,
yeah.
I mean, they're right. So 16.
Annie in the chat says maybe we want Sausage Fest.
That 16 guy looks kind of like a gamer, you know? He's got like the weird goatee.
Yeah, yeah.
He looks like a gamer. Like, I don't know. they maybe so it'll either be a girl or it'll be another like hotter guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. There will be a character revealed.
They're going to show off somebody like the Mobius, Warrior of Light, where he's just like he's like half naked for no reason.
Yeah. Just he's got nipples.
Yeah. Where they have to like go back and like revise his design because all these like guys got uncomfortable because he's just like naked on screen.
he's gonna have nipple rings, I think.
Yes.
I think it's what they're gonna do.
Oh yeah. Yes, please.
That's my prediction. That's my prediction for the Japanese trailer of 16.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing.
Maybe they're gonna announce this versus 16 as well.
Virum Rex is also like that's you joke, but that's a possibility now. Virum Rex.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Lord, I actually thought that was going to be 16.
Oh no! How weird would that be? Like versus became 15, and now Virum Rex becoming 16. That would be.
I'm not 100% sure of the fan theories, but what's the Vegas? What's the Vegas numbers on Virum Rex being tied to 7 Remake? What is that?
No, that's cursed. Don't do that. That's cursed.
That would be horrifying.
No, don't do that. That's cursed.
I mean, it would definitely be a thing because it looks too cool.
No,
like I mean, I'm not 100% the demographic, but it looks too cool to not be something.
To be honest, though, with the way the timeline stuff is working, like Yozora could like literally like show up, and I would just be like, this kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he could be in there. He comes popping out of the live stream, riding diamond weapons back.
Oh,
guys,
no.
Thanks for setting me free.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then there's Xehanort is in there.
Yeah.
He's back.
Yeah.
You thought you killed me, but I only was revealed in the other world or whatever. It's going to just... You thought you had killed me. However, by killing me, you revealed me in the other world. That's going to be the line.
They already did that, man. That's what Dream Drop Distance was.
Oh my God. I don't even want to think about... Kingdom Hearts drives me wild. I can't think about Kingdom Hearts without screaming anymore.
Yeah.
I got to stop. Maybe it's time to go and eat my dinner.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Let's go ahead and do the raid.